Labor Day was yesterday, as of this recording, and it seems like Donald Trump spent the entire day. It seems like he thanked laborers by taking the paid time off his campaign. The entirety of Labor Day weekend, both him and Vance did literally nothing. But it seemed like this is what he was doing the whole day, talking to Lex. I don't know much about Lex. If I'm gonna be honest with you, he seems like the type of people who are like not left, not right when they're definitely right. So I expect this to be a complete softball interview where Donald Trump like spins in his chair. I guess we'll find out. Maybe something interesting happens. Maybe Donald Trump starts lisping and like has like a mental episode. So it's not like Donald Trump ever answers questions anyways. So
I don't know if you know this, but some people call you a fascist.
Yeah, they do. So I figure it's all right to call them a cop.
Me?
I mean, yeah, they call me a lot worse than
I'm actually socialist, but
I call them.
A lot of people listening to this.
What did he just say?
I mean, yeah, they call me a lot worse than I call them.
A lot of people listening to this, myself included, that doesn't.
I mean, at least he acknowledges that that fascists are indeed worse than communists. So there you go.
Think that Kamala is a communist.
I believe you have to fight fire with fire.
Politics is a dirty game.
It is a dirty game. It's certainly true.
How do you win at that?
Yeah,
game?
man.
They suffer from massive Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, and I don't know if it's curable from their standpoint.
I think would probably.
He sounds so old now.
If everybody in Congress took some mushrooms, perhaps.
First of all, medical marijuana has been.
No, not like this. Is he kind of like? Is he like guy who wants to be? Is he like Joe Rogan, but for the guy who wants to feel smarter than a Joe Rogan viewer?
Amazing. It's been, I've had friends and I've had others and doctors telling me that it's been absolutely amazing.
The list of clients that love winning, and you have won a lot in life, in real estate, in business, in TV, in politics. So let me start with mindset, psychology.
Yeah. The only thing that he really won at was the birth lottery, but whatever.
The question: what drives you more, the love of winning or the hate of losing?
Maybe equally, maybe both. I don't like losing, and I do like winning. I've never thought of it as to which is more of a driving force.
You've been close with a lot of the greats.
Wow, incredible answer.
You think about Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali. You have people like Michael Jordan,
Jeffrey Epstein,
who I think hate losing more than anybody.
Ghislaine Maxwell, both prominent, well-known historical winners.
So what do you learn from those guys?
Well, they do have something different. The great champions have something very different, like the sports champions. And, you have champions in other fields, but you see it more readily in sports. You see it over a weekend or you see it during a game. And you see that certain people stand out and they keep standing out. But it's there for you. It doesn't take a lifetime to find out that somebody was a winner or a loser. And so the sports thing is very interesting. But, I play golf with different people and there's a different mindset among champions. There's really a very different mindset. There's a different thought process. Talent-wise, sometimes you can't tell the difference in talent, but at the end of a weekend, they seem to win. And it's very interesting. Like as an example, Tiger or Jack Nicklaus, he was a phenomenal winner. And he does have a different way about him. And Tiger has a different way about him. And Michael Jordan. And there's never one, you would think that there'd be one way. Arnold Palmer was the nicest guy you'd ever meet. And then you have some champions that aren't really nice. They're just focused on doing their job. So you have, there's not one type of person.
What's really funny is that talking about golf is the only thing that really gets this man impassioned. I'm going to be real.
They're very driven. They're driven like beyond.
They don't seem to give up easily.
They don't give up. Say that everybody seems to have in common is they're very driven. They're driven like beyond.
They don't seem to give up easily.
They're really driven beyond. So
they
true.
They don't give up, but they do seem to be, they have a passion that's maybe more than people that don't do as well.
You've said that.
Oh, he's actually saying nothing. It's crazy.
It is a dirty game. It's certainly true.
So if it is a game, how do you win at that game?
Well, you win at that game by getting the word out and by using sense. You have to have a feeling where it's going. You also have to have a feeling of what's right. You can't necessarily just go what's popular. You have to do what's good for a country if you're talking about countries. But you have to get the word out, and you have to just continuously, like, for instance, you have a great show. You have a great podcast. It's very well watched. And I'm sitting here and I do this. A lot of people see it, and I do other things, and a lot of people see that. And I go traditional also. You have traditional television, which is getting a little bit older and maybe less significant. Could be less significant. I don't know, but it's changing a lot. The whole plane of platform is changing a lot. It's changed a lot in the last 2-3 years, but from a political standpoint, you have to find out what people are doing, what they're watching, and you have to get it. You have to get on. I just see that these platforms are starting to dominate. They're getting very big numbers. I did Spaces with Elon, and they got numbers like nobody's ever heard before. So this is you wouldn't do that on like radio. You wouldn't do those numbers, no matter how good a show. You wouldn't do those numbers on radio. You wouldn't do them on television.
You've been successful in business. You've been successful in politics. What do you think is the difference between gaining success between the two different disparate worlds?
Yeah, and they're different, very different. I have a lot of people that are in business that are successful, and they'd like to go over to politics. And then you realize they can't speak. They choke. It's hard to make a speech in front of that. Let's say you're talking about a big audience, but I get very big audiences. And, for many people, it's virtually impossible to get up and speak for an hour and a half and have nobody leave. It's not an easy thing to do.
And that's something you certainly don't do anymore, buddy.
I have many people that are very, very successful in business, would love to do what I did, and yet they can't pull the trigger. And in many cases, I don't think it would work. Almost for everybody, it's not going to work. It's a very tough thing to do. It's a big transition. And now, if you talked about
he really is saying nothing. It's crazy.
In politics, going into business.
Can you imagine like you being a conservative voter? Can you imagine being a Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden voter, and who watches Lex Friedman and saw this pop up in their like their subscription box right next to like a Joe Rogan clips video and like a Russell Brand upload channel and go and like they like jump up in the air and click their heels and go yippee, and they watch this with their they watch this on their bed with their laptop propped up, kicking their little feet up in the air like, wow, this guy is really cooking. This guy is really I can really learn a lot from this guy. Can you imagine that? That's just insane to me, honestly. It really does feel like we're living in different worlds when I listen to conservatives talk about how the way that they speak about Donald Trump. It's like they're actually wearing glasses when they look at him, just like cool guy alpha male glasses. Oh boy. Another thoughtful and insightful interview by Donald J. Trump. Exactly what I was looking for today.
Yeah, likewise, that wouldn't generally work out so well either. It's different talents, it's different skills. I have somebody who wants to go into politics so bad, but he's got a little problem. He's got stage fright. Now, he's a total killer, but if he gets up into a stage in front of people, he doesn't do well, to put it mildly, actually. I mean, he does badly.
So you have to be able to make hard decisions like you do in business, but also be able to captivate an audience.
Look, if you're a politician, you have to be able to speak in front of large crowds. There are a lot of people who can't do that. I've seen it. They can't even think about doing it, and they don't. There are many people in business right now, wow. I could name them, but I don't want to embarrass anybody. They've been talking about running for president for 15 years. And they're very big in business, very well known, actually. But it takes guts to run. Like for president, I can tell you it takes guts to run. It's also a very dangerous profession, if you want to know the truth. But
look at his ear. It's like perfectly healed, isn't it? He really did just get... The bullet just like kind of like blew him an air kiss, huh? I just started thinking about that. Like, remember, chat, this is the ear that got shot, like Jarvis and Hans. Look at that. It's perfect. The pigskin healed over it too, just perfectly. That's remarkable. Teal, Elon, either of them are there. Like, here's the thing, okay? Here's the real thing. When rich people want to get into politics, they don't become politicians. That's a stupid idea. When rich people come into politics, they become the puppeteers of the politicians. That's how rich people get into. That's how every rich person gets into politics. That's how Peter Thiel, one of the main investors behind, what was it, Uber Eats, the like this weirdo, behind the scenes, no name billionaire who's a mover and shaker in who's a mover and shaker in Silicon Valley, who literally bought and paid for and trained up JD Vance, to become a politician as his basically boy toy, and then was the main reason for why he's the vice presidential candidate right now. That guy actually just handpicked the vice presidential candidate for the United States of America, and this is just that's how rich people get into politics. Trump's the stupid one for getting into politics himself. There are so many people who would roll over and bark and play dead if you just waved a couple tens of thousands of dollars, actually just a couple thousands of dollars at them for their re-election campaign or their election campaign, honestly. But that's why Donald Trump is the one who has multiple investigations hanging over his head, and the other rich people are able to plunder the American people with barely a blink.
Dangerous in a different sense too, but it takes a lot of courage to run for president. It's not easy, but you have, and you know, the same people as I do. There are a lot of people that would like to run for president that are very, very successful in business, but they don't have the guts to do it, and they have to give up a lot.
One of the great things about people from the business world is they're often great deal makers, and you're a great deal maker, and you've talked about the war in Ukraine and that you would be able to find a deal that both Putin and Zelensky would accept. What do you think that deal looks like?
I think the deal, and I wouldn't talk about it too much because I think I can make a deal if
because he doesn't have one, but I wonder, Lex is Donald Trump is such a good deal maker. Do you think that he can explain one singular deal that Donald Trump made in office last time that was a good deal? What did Trump do that was bipartisan? What did he gain through his exceptional art of the deal making? What did he do? I just want to know, because once again, a lot of people forget Donald Trump passed one singular piece of policy from his campaign through office. One. Sorry, I accidentally put up two fingers. One singular piece of policy, and that was his tax bill. And that wasn't a deal. All the Republicans were like, "Oh shit, you're giving all of our puppeteers a tax break." Yes, sir. Of course I'll vote for that. And that's just how it happened. What deal did he make in Congress? What deal did he make with foreign leaders as well? I wonder if he can explain. I wonder if anybody can explain. I'd love to know. The plan's gonna drop soon, and it's gonna be the biggest, bestest plan to ever exist. Obviously, Mr. Lex. I really just want to know, what bill did he get through Congress? Or what bill? What? My bad, not bill, because he can't say that. What deal did he make with anybody and at any point in time that someone's dog couldn't make while as the president? I just want to know.
If I win as president-elect, I'll have a deal made. Guaranteed. Yep. That's a war that shouldn't have happened. It's terrible. Look, Biden is the worst president in the history of our country. And she's
not him going to Biden already.
That's something that should have never happened. But it did happen.
He can't stop thinking about his boyfriend.
And now it's a much tougher deal to make than it would have been.
He broke up with him.
Millions of people. I think the number's going to be a lot higher when you see this all at some point iron out. I think the numbers are going to be, the death numbers are going to be a lot higher than people think. When you take a look at the destruction and the buildings coming down all over the place in Ukraine, I think those numbers are going to be a lot higher. They lie about the numbers. They try and keep them low. They knock down a building that's 2 blocks long. These are big buildings. And they say one person was mildly injured. No. A lot of people were killed. And there are people in those buildings, and they have no chance. Once they start coming down, there's no chance. So that's a war that absolutely has to get done. And then you have Israel, and then you have a lot of other places that are talking war. The world is a rough place right now. And a lot of it's because of the fact that America has no leadership. And I believe that she'll be probably worse than Biden. I watched the interview the other night. I mean, it was just a softball interview.
So you would like to see her do more interviews, challenged more?
I don't know. I can't believe the whole thing is happening. We had a man in there that should have never been in there. They kept him in a basement. They used COVID. They cheated, but they used COVID to cheat. They cheated without COVID too.
Cheated with COVID.
You had somebody in there. And
is Lex going to push him on the fact that he just said that the Democrats cheated?
This was a really soft interview. This is an interview where they're given a multiple choice questions, multiple guess. I call it multiple guess. And I don't think she did well. I think she did very poorly.
How do you think you'll do in the debate coming up?
No, of course not. Of course he won't. This is the definition of a softball interview, honestly, because this is actually really funny because Dana Bash with Kamala Harris actually asked questions and then asked like tough follow-ups that Kamala Harris had to navigate. Lex doesn't ask follow-ups. What I've noticed so far from this first 10 minutes is that Lex asks a question, Trump rambles for 3 minutes. Lex then summarizes what he says in a way to try to understand him and get, I guess, the audience who's thinking to themselves sometimes, what the fuck did he just say? To think, oh yeah, wow, so poignant. And then Trump rambles again, and then he asks just like another question. This is okay. Are all Lex Fridman interviews like this? Like, this isn't, how is this like listen, I don't want to shit on Lex Fridman because I don't know who he is. But I am going to say that this is the type of interview that this is the type of job that can be replaced with AI. This is the type of job that can be, actually, my bad. This isn't a job that can be replaced with AI. This is a job that can be replaced with a 20 questions magic 8-ball. You know what I mean? Like, instead of like replace Lex Fridman with a magic 8-ball, right? That just asks questions, and then just have Trump shake it after he's done rambling. And then the ball will like pop up with another question and then let Trump ramble again. And when he's done, he just shakes it again. That's more like what this is. That's more like what this is more than like an interview. This could actually be replaced with a magic 8-ball. His job is in danger.
It's in a few days.
So I've done a lot of debating. Only as a politician. I never debated. My first debate was the Rosie O'Donnell debate, right? The famous Rosie O'Donnell debate, the answer. But I've done well with debates. I mean, I became president. And then the second time I got...
Done well as in he lost every single presidential debate until he debated a guy who literally might be suffering from a degenerative mental condition. It took somebody who is older than 95% of the American population and also might be suffering from a degenerative mental condition to be able to have Trump actually win a debate. So I just don't think he's going to do very well coming up. That's just my opinion.
Millions more votes than I got the first time. So I was told
that's true. If
I got 63 million, which is what I got the first time, you would win. You can't not win.
Except for when you don't win.
Millions of more votes than that. And
that's true. Actually, just so you know, Donald Trump got the most amount of votes of any presidential candidate in American history. Except for Joe Biden.
And look what happened to the world with all of the wars and all of the problems. And look what happened with inflation, because inflation's just eating up our country, eating it up. So it's too bad. But there are a lot of things that could happen. We have to get those wars settled. We have to get, I'll tell you, you have to get Ukraine done. That could end up in a third world war. So could the Middle East. So
that's true. That's why you should get them to stop
what it takes to negotiate with somebody like Putin or Zelensky. Do you think Putin would be willing to give up any of the regions?
Just so you know,
I don't know.
Just so you know, Donald Trump actually asked and pushed Netanyahu to not accept the Biden ceasefire deal because he didn't want the war to actually end, and so he can use it to drag Biden and Harris down in an attempt. This is actually the same exact plan he had for that immigration border bill.
I can tell you that all of this would have never happened, and it would have been very easy because you don't have, like, that question wouldn't be asked. You know, that's a tougher question. Once that starts happening, because he has taken over a lot of territory. Now, I guess they're insurgents now too, right? So, you know, it's a little bit interesting that that's happening and that it can happen. And it's interesting that Putin has allowed that to happen. Look, that's one that should have never started. We have to get it stopped. Ukraine is being demolished. They're destroying a great culture that's largely destroyed.
What do you think works better in those kinds of negotiations? Leverage of, let's say, friendship, The carrot or the stick? Friendship or sort of the threat of using the economic and military power?
So it depends on who the person is. Everyone's different. And negotiation's interesting because it depends on who the person is. And then you have to guess or know through certain knowledge, which is, more important, the carrot or the stick. And with some people, it's the stick, and with some people, it's the carrot. I think that the stick probably is generally more successful in that, we're talking about war. But the kind of destruction that we're witnessing now, nobody's ever seen. I mean, it's a terrible thing. And we're witnessing it all over. We're witnessing it in all parts of the world. And a lot of things are going to get started. Look what's going on with China. Look at Japan. They're starting to rearm now. They're starting.
Just so you know, this is actually at 1.25 speed. I actually sped this up. Donald Trump back in 2016 was never this slow. I haven't heard him drop a China in a long time. He's really slowed down. He is not the guy he used to be.
To rearm because China's getting, taking over certain islands, and there's a lot of danger in the war.
Now, you want to hear normal speed? This is normal speed.
Right now in the world, there's a great possibility of World War III. And we better get this thing done fast because 5 months with people like her and him, he's checked out. He just goes to the beach and thinks he looks good in a bathing suit, which he doesn't.
Trump was checking him out. Because Biden just went to the beach like a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. Maybe he just saw the story. Biden went to the beach like a couple weeks ago, or was it like Labor Day weekend? It was one of the two. Biden went to the beach a little bit ago. Was Trump checking him out? He said he thinks he's hot in the bathing, but he's not. He's not hot. Ever since he left me, he wasn't hot. He was the one who's losing out, okay, and not me. He really do be missing his boyfriend.
Checked out. Hey, look, you can't blame him. That was a coup. They took it over. They took over the presidential deal. The whole presidential thing was taken over in a coup. He had 14 million votes. She had no votes, not one. And nobody thought it was going to be her. Nobody wanted it to be her. She was a joke until 6 weeks ago when they said we're going to have to, politically, they felt they had to pick her. And if they didn't,
he's calling her DEI
problem. I don't know if that's right or not. I actually don't think it's right, but they thought it was right. And now immediately the press comes to their aid.
If we can go back to China on negotiation, how do we avoid war with China in the 21st century?
Well, there are ways. Now, here's the problem. If I tell you how, and I'd love to do it, but if I give you a plan, like a very exacting plan how to stop,
of course,
Ukraine and Russia, but
I can't say it.
Idea, maybe not a plan, but an idea for China, because we're in a lot of trouble. They'll be in a lot of trouble too.
Donald Trump, how do you do anything? I can't tell you. I can't tell you. It's a secret.
He may be nice in a bikini, but I'm nicer.
Biden, he thinks he's hot in a bikini, and maybe he is, but I'm hotter. I'm way hotter in a bikini. I'm the hottest boy on the beach. Thank you so much, Jar Jar, for the 10. I appreciate you. Thanks for the tip. Thank you. No, it's really just like this is kind of crazy. I can't lie. He's really just like, I have a plan. It's a great plan. It's probably one of the best plans to ever exist. The thing that you just said, bad. It's very bad. Everyone knows it's bad. Joe Biden, he's just checked out. He has no clue where he is. I saw that. You saw the debate, didn't you? The debate was bad. Real bad. Maybe the worst that's ever been. But me, I'm the best. The best? Probably the best it's ever been. The best the world has ever seen. I won bigly. But you see, the plan is the greatest plan, possibly the greatest plan to ever exist. And I thought it up really quickly. Maybe the quickest that's ever happened. And it's good. It's very good. Maybe the goodest that's ever been gooded. But I can't tell you. Because if I did tell you, then they'd work against it. And I would have to somehow come up with an even gooder, bester plan. That's even better than the goodest plan that's ever been made. And that's hard. That's hard work. Being the president's pretty hard, right? So don't make my life hard, okay? Because this plan, possibly, actually, I know for a fact, because I'm thinking about it right now. Oh my gosh, I'm blushing. Am I blushing? I'm blushing right now thinking about how good this plan is. I can't tell you what it is. No one can know what it is until I do it because it's that good of a plan. And we don't know if anybody like them can even make a plan, maybe even 10% as good, but even that 10% is scary. So just so you know, I'll get it done instantly. The fastest that anybody's ever gotten anything done ever before. And Lex is just like, yeah, this guy's good.
But
This
we're in a
guy's
lot of trouble.
good.
But I can't give you those plans because if I give you those plans, I'm not going to be able to use them. They'll be very unsuccessful.
Of course. I have a plan for everything. I just can't tell. I'm going to do such great things when I'm the president. What? I can't tell you, because once I do, then it won't go. Then none of them will be able to get done. And I want them to get done, don't you? So don't ask me about a plan ever again, okay? Because just trust in the plan. Because I have a plan, I promise you, and it's a good one. It's the best.
Part of it's surprise, right?
Right.
But they won't be able to help us much.
So you have a plan of what to say to Putin.
Yeah, I know.
when you take
exactly.
office.
No, I had a very good relationship with him. I had
He
a good
really is
relationship
Captain
with
Bullshit,
Zelensky,
huh?
too, but I had a very good relationship with Putin.
Tough topic, but important. You said lost by a whisker. I'm an independent. I have a lot of friends who are independent, many of whom like your policies, like the fact that you're a deal maker, like the fact that you can end wars, but they are troubled
What war did he end?
by what happened in the 2020 election and statements about widespread fraud and this kind of stuff, fake elector scheme. What can you say to those independent voters to help them decide who to vote
Right. I think the fraud was on the other side. I think the election was a fraud. And
The answer is nothing, because he's just going to dive into it even worse.
many people felt it was that, and they wanted answers. And when you can't challenge an election, you have to be able to challenge it. Otherwise, it's going to get worse, not better. And there are lots of ways to solve this problem. Go to paper ballots and do it the easy way. I mean, paper ballots, and you have voter ID, and you have same-day voting, and you have proof of
Did we F? Did we ingest a tiny F? Here, let me.
and do it the easy way. I mean, paper ballots, and you have voter ID, and you have same-day voting, and you have proof of citizenship, which is very important because we have people voting that are not citizens. They just came in, and they're loading up the payrolls. They're loading up everything. They're putting students in schools that don't speak a word of English, and they're taking the seats of people that are citizens of our country. So, look, we have the worst border in the history of the world.
What the
coming
hell?
into
Where
our
did this
country,
go? Wait, did he actually run out of things to say on the election thing? Because maybe his advisors told him that people get angry every single time he reminds them that he thinks that they stole the election from him. So he just ran out of things to say, and he's just like, look, Trump, what do you have to say to the people who like you and think you're the coolest, most amazing guy ever, but are worried when you gnaw at the roots like Jormungandr of the fabric of our society and governance, that could easily lead to a massive issue of trust in our institutions that could erode the very foundation of a country that we stand upon? Yeah, like, I'm gonna let you know that they stole that shit from me and they all deserve to be hung. Anyways, Mexicans are scary. You ever think about that? Okay. Anyways, so Mexicans, am I right? So true, buddy.
now,
Venezuelans
millions
even.
of people at levels that nobody's ever seen. I don't believe any country's ever seen it. And they would use sticks and stones not to make it happen, not to let it happen. We don't do anything. And we have a person who was the border czar, who now said she wasn't really the border czar, but she was. She was the border czar, but she was in charge of the border.
She was not.
We have her, and she's saying very strongly, "Oh, I did such a good job. She was horrible, horrible. The harm she's done." But we have people coming in from other countries all over the world, not just South America, and they're coming in from prisons and jails. They're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. And they're street criminals. Right off the street, they take them. And they're being given to our country. Drug dealers, human traffickers. We're destroying our country. This is a sin, what's been allowed to take place over the last 4 years. We're destroying our country. And we'll see how that all works out. But it's not even believable. And now you saw in Aurora, Colorado, a group of very tough young thugs from Venezuela taking over big areas, including buildings. They're taking over buildings. They have their big rifles.
So you know what's really interesting about this is that my sister's fiance, his dad, um, they told me that his dad watches Rumble, like weirdo right wing conservatives from Rumble, and told them that he learned recently that Venezuelan gangs had begun taking over and sequestering whole apartment blocks in Aurora, Colorado, for like Venezuela, and have now like and now own multiple apartment blocks, and the cops can't do anything about it because they've like taken over all of the apartment blocks, apparently, I guess. Are they gonna not stop him? Somebody stop him from watching that? Like, I really do think they need to take away his phone, like, to be incredibly nice, but like in a really nice way, because that's not. I told them like they need to not do that, because here's the thing: is that I was just out. I was out the whole day. I was like me and the GF. We went to like we hung out. We did some cleaning. We went to like a pet shop and everything, and I got some new fish, like the final fish I needed for my tank, my big tank. And I got home and I was like putting away some stuff in the kitchen when they told me that, and I had never heard of it in my entire life. I was like, what are you talking about? And so I looked it up on my phone, right, as they were telling me the story that his dad told him, and within 5 minutes I found an article from Colorado that said that the police said that they were looking into it and they haven't found any information on it. And then I reloaded the page because it said there was an update, and it said that the police confirmed that there was no evidence of Venezuelan gangs overtaking apartment blocks in Aurora. And I was like, yeah, you gotta, oh, my bad, sorry. I updated it and then saw like an article. My bad. It didn't just update. It updated and then showed me a new article, which was from 3 hours ago, that said that there was no evidence that Venezuelan gangs have taken over apartment blocks in Aurora, Colorado. What actually happened is that it seems like gang members that might be from Venezuela have been committing like a string of attempted burglaries in Aurora. Seemed like that's what actually happened. Yes, SWAT teams only exist for streamers now. So true. It seems like some gang members that might possibly be from Venezuela or affiliated with Venezuelans were committing a string of crimes and attempted burglaries. That's the real story. And no, they had not taken over any apartment blocks whatsoever. And because the entire article was about like this, which is just somebody's Ring camera that they saw, and they like reported it to the police. And this is what the entire story is. But Republicans now think that like 2/3 of Aurora, Colorado is now like little Venezuela and owned by like a Venezuelan gang. It's like Big Chaz, I guess. This is how old people become racist? Yeah.
But they're taking over buildings. We're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let them destroy our country. And you know, in those countries, crime is way down. They're taking them out of their prisons, which is good because good for them. I do the same thing. By the way, if I ran one of those countries, any country in the world, I would make sure that America has every one of our prisoners. Every one of our criminals would be here. I can't believe they're going so slowly, but some aren't. But they all are doing it.
What?
And we can't let that happen.
Gangs are moving slowly?
Out their prisons and their mental institutions into the United States of America. We can't let that happen.
So a lot of people believe that there was some shady stuff that went on with the election, whether it's media bias or big tech, but still the claim of widespread fraud is the thing that bothers people.
Well, I don't focus on the past. I focus on the future. I mean, I talk about how bad the economy is.
What? That's the biggest lie I've ever heard in my entire. Your campaign slogan is "Make America Great Again." You're literally focused on the past. Your whole thing, your whole shtick is the past. What are you talking about? Yo, bro, wait, his advisors must be like cracking a whip over his head or something every time he mentions 2020 to get him to say like, I don't focus about the past, I focus about the future. Is he trying to turn Make America Great Again into We're Not Going Back? Like people remember that they don't actually want to go backwards, they want to go forwards. What is happening?
Bad inflation is, how bad things like, which is important. Afghanistan was, in my opinion, the most embarrassing thing.
He's doing everything to deflect,
and because of that, I guess
this is previewing his next strategy at the debate, where every time he's asked a question about how his entire campaign has been run on questioning the 2020 election, and his advisors cracking like a whip over his head every time he does it to get him to like associate mentioning 2020 with like a bad sensation, like negative reinforcement, like how you train a dog how to how to sit and stay or something. But it seemed like it's like instantly deflect. Just deflect. That's it. Yeah, like they hit him with the Pavlovian response. Just deflect. Don't. But you know he's gonna be baited into it, you know? Because the second they get into like the January 6th rioters and all in 2020, you know for a fact he won't be able to help himself from going into the same screed he goes into every single time.
How stupid we were. Putin went in. But it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. I really believe that. But you know, we left 13 dead soldiers. Think of it, 13 dead soldiers, many soldiers horrifically hurt with arms and legs and everything else gone.
Not their armsies.
We left hostages behind. We left Americans behind. Yeah. We left
that was your
military equipment, the likes of which nobody's ever left behind before.
That was your plan, dog.
Billions and billions of dollars of equipment. They're now selling the equipment. They're one of the largest arms dealers in the world. And
yeah, that's what they did with all the American arms that the Taliban took. Chat. They took the American arms from our great soldiers' arms and legs, and now they have the greatest arms to ever exist because they're American arms, and it's fucked up, isn't it?
Very sad, very sad. And you know, we were there for a long time. I was going to get out. We were getting ready to get out. Then we got interrupted by the election, but we would have been out with dignity and strength. We were having very little problem with the Taliban when I was there because they knew it was going to be tough. I dealt with Abdul. Abdul was the leader. And we got along fine. He understood. But, you know, they were killing a lot of our people before.
Bro just said I got along fine with the Taliban. Yeah, what?
I came down, and when I got there, I spoke to him. I said, can't do it. Don't do it anymore. We went 18 months before this happened. This horrible day happened. We went 18 months, and nobody was shot at or killed.
What do you think that was, the carrot or the stick in that case in Afghanistan?
The stick. Definitely
so
the stick.
Threat of military force.
That was the stick, yeah. It doesn't have to be, but that was the stick.
Well, let me just linger on the election a little bit more. For this election, it might be a close one. What can we do to avoid the insanity and division of the previous election, whether you win or lose?
Well, I hope it's not a close one. I mean, you know, I don't know how people can vote for somebody that has destroyed our country. The inflation, the bad economy, but to me, in a way, the worst is what they've allowed to happen at our border, where they've allowed millions of people to come in here from places that you don't want to know about. And I can't believe that there's going to be a close election. You know, we're leading in the polls, but
you were not.
It looks close, but I think in the end, it's not going to be a close election.
Honestly, I think the same.
Solve the immigration crisis. Is mass deportation one of the solutions you would think about?
Well, you've got to get the criminals out of here fast, right? You know, the people from mental institutions, you got to get them back into the mental institutions. No country can afford this. You know, it's just too much money. You look at what's happening in New York and Chicago.
The crazy thing is we actually can't afford getting rid of all of our immigrants.
And you take a look at what's happening. There's no country can afford this. We can't afford it. And we've got to get the bad ones out immediately, and the rest have to be worked on. You know, it's happened before. Dwight Eisenhower was sort of a moderate president, moderate type person, but he hated when he saw people pouring into the country, and they were nothing like now. You know, I probably got elected in 2016 because of the border.
No.
And I told people what was
you got elected because Hillary Clinton is ass.
Happening, and they understood it. And I won the election, I think, because of the border. Our border is 25 times worse right now.
Obama was literally the deporter in chief. Obama
I had
built
it
more
fixed
wall
it.
and
I had
deported
it
more
the
people
last
than Donald Trump.
week of the famous chart that I put up was exactly that. You know the chart. When I looked at it, I said, "There's
the chart that got you shot.
That was not a pleasant experience. But the chart that I put up said, and that was done by Border Patrol, that was the lowest number that we've ever had come into our country in recorded history. And we have to get it back to that again. And we will.
Let me ask you about Project 2025. So you've publicly said that you don't have any direct connection to.
Wait a second. I haven't taken a good look at that yet. What the hell? Yeah, look. Yeah, look. Wait, like during Obama's presidency, illegal immigration was actually lower than during Trump's. Wow, during his entire presidency, immigration ramped up literally every single year he was in office until the last one. Okay.
And we have to get it back to that again. And we will.
Let me ask you about Project 2025. So you've publicly said that you don't have any direct connection to Project
nothing. I know nothing about it, and they know that too. Democrats know that, and I purposely.
Wait, I gotta hit this. Wait, this is a tasty one.
We have to get it back to that again. And we will.
Let me ask you about Project 2025. So you've publicly said that you don't have any direct connection to Project
nothing. I know nothing about it, and they.
Yeah, no clue. Only the all the people who are set up to work for my campaign worked for them. The people writing my policy platform also also wrote and worked for the Heritage Foundation and wrote for Project 2025. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't think. Yes, JD Vance was also the guy who wrote the foreword for Project 2025 as well, and a Project 2025 and Heritage Foundation funder and donor handpicked him to be my vice president. But like, I also, went out of my way to say that I love the Heritage Foundation and I want to implement their policies. Wait, can I?
I got good, scary news. We have the proof. Remember when Trump said that he knew nothing about Project 2025, a project also known as a mandate for leadership? Because they found the clip of his keynote speech at, you guessed it, the Heritage Foundation. So is it true that Trump really didn't know anything about a mandate for leadership, also known as Project 2025? Let's hear it from his very own mouth, shall we?
The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork. Heritage does such an incredible job at that. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America.
He's such a goober. Yeah, he actually spoke at the Heritage Foundation and was like, yeah, I love their plans. They're literally writing my policy proposals. The plan that they write down is the one that we're gonna follow once we get into office. Who? Heritage? What?
I know that too. Democrats know that, and I purposely haven't read it because I want to say to you, I have no idea what it's all about.
Remember when he said he read it and
all of the things. No, I purposely haven't.
Remember when he said he read it and some things were good, some things were bad. I have no idea
what it's all about. It's easier than saying I read it and all of the things. No, I purposely haven't read it, and I've heard about it. I've heard about things that are in there that I don't like. And there's some things in there that everybody would like, but there are things that, of course, I don't like at all.
Banning free school lunch for children.
Unfortunate that they put it out, but
national abortion
because it has nothing to do with me. Project 25 has absolutely nothing to do with me.
You posted recently about marijuana, and
not letting him squirm out of that instantly.
It being legalized, but it has to be done safely. Can you explain your policy there?
Well, I just put out a paper, and first of all, medical marijuana has been amazing. It's been, I've had friends and I've had others and doctors telling me that it's been absolutely amazing, the medical marijuana. And we put out a statement that we can live with the marijuana. It's got to be a certain age, to buy it. It's got to be done in a very concerted, lawful way. And the way they're doing it in Florida, I think, is going to be actually good. It's going to be very good. but it's got to be done in a good way. It's got to be done in a clean way. You go into some of these places, like in New York, it smells all marijuana. You can't. You've got to have a system where there's control. And I think the way they've done it in Florida is very good.
You know, the really funny thing is that this is another flip flop from Trump, because because the Republicans in Florida hate that bill that he's referring to, that the legalization of marijuana bill. The Republican position is actually anti-legalization of marijuana. But he's on the pro side for like some reason. I'm just really not sure why. But Donald Trump is not an ideologue. I want to talk about this sometime too. Probably tomorrow when we have like a full stream about everything, because Donald Trump's flip flops on abortion have been probably the funniest thing I've seen in my entire life. When he was like, oh, the 6-week ban from Florida is too bad. It's too strong. Like I don't support that. I'm going to be voting against it. And then he got his ass beat when he got back home. And then he was like, oh, actually, I will be voting against it. The Democrats want to abort kids 17 years after they leave the womb. And I don't really I don't like that. So I'll be voting against it. I love the 6-week abortion ban. Yes, it's very good. It's very tasty. Yes. Yes. And then he's like, and then he was like back and forth on it. Like again, he just can't help himself because obviously he can't. He's not tied to any ideologic position. He's not an ideologue. He doesn't have like a moral compass really in a thought process. It's just, he's just what's going to make me money now, and what's going to make people happy with me right now. And anything that's not that is something I don't want.
Do you know anything about psychedelics? So I'm not a drug guy, but I recently did ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Donald Trump doesn't take drugs, as far as I know. He's like
health benefits.
He's like scarily straight edge. Benefits he really hates doing drugs.
Right. I think
he's a big germaphobe too.
Probably have a better world if everybody in Congress took some mushrooms, perhaps. Now I know you stay away from all of that stuff. I know also veterans use it for dealing with PTSD and all that kind of stuff. So it's great, and it's interesting that you're thinking about being more accepting of some of these drugs, which don't just have a recreational purpose, but a medical purpose, a treatment purpose.
So we put out a statement today. We're going to put out another one probably next week.
Does cocaine? I'm 70% sure he does. No, I'm 100% sure he doesn't. I'm 100. He does not. He 100% doesn't. Right. And the reason for why is because he just thinks too highly of himself. And he's too much. I'm not sure if hypochondriac is the right word for it, but he's just one of those types of people that's like really, really straight edge. He never wants to feel like he's off his game any. Maybe sometimes he's scared of somebody like spiking it for him, like scared of somebody like trying to kill him, scared of like what it could possibly do. Like I think I 100% think huge control freak type person who never wants to feel like they're out of control, even out of control in a controlled manner. Like absolutely not. I don't think he does anything like that whatsoever. I really don't. I know some people like to say that sometimes, but nah. From what we've seen from Trump, he's two things. He's like a big germaphobe. He really is, and he's a really big he's a big germaphobe, and he's a huge straight edge type person. He does not want to do like any drugs. He does not drink. We've seen him in public, like when he had the opportunity to drink and he hasn't had any. He doesn't even take a sip. I really think he's the sort of like I want to always be in control type guys. I really don't think he would honestly.
Be more specific.
Let the N-word slip. Maybe.
And we'll see how that all goes. That's a referendum coming up in some states, but it's coming up, and we'll see how it does. I will say it's been very hard to beat it. You take a look at the numbers; it's been very hard to beat it. So I think it'll generally pass, but you want to do it in a safe way.
Speaking of marijuana, let me ask you about my good friend Joe Rogan. So you had a bit of tension with him. So when he said nice things about RFK Jr., I think You've said some not so nice things about Joe, and I think that was a bit unfair. And as a
What did he say? Oh, this is when he was beefing with Rogan. This was before I started streaming again, before I came back to streaming. So as far as I remember, Rogan said praised RFK Jr. And this is back when Trump still hated. My bad. And this is when Trump still publicly hated RFK, and thought he was a spoiler. So then he attacked Rogan for being like a traitor piece of shit, right? It would be interesting to see how loudly Joe Rogan gets booed at the next time he enters a UFC ring, MAGA 2024, and then Rogan had to be like, guys, sorry, I don't hate Trump. Like Rogan had to like capitulate a little bit. They tried to get him to kiss the ring. It was some sad stuff.
As a fan of Joe, I would love to see you do his podcast.
Oh, of course he would bring. You said he was like a huge Rogan glazer, right? So that makes a lot of sense why he would bring this up.
He is legit
He's like
the greatest conversationalist in the world. So what's
Donald Trump? Can you please hop off my
I don't think there
goat?
was any tension, and I've always liked him, but I don't know him. I mean, I only see him when I walk into
Trump,
the
please
arena
hop
with Dana,
off my goat.
and I shake his hand. I see him there, and I think he's good at what he does, but I don't know about doing his podcast. I mean, I guess I'd do it, but I haven't been asked, and I'm not asking them, I'm not asking anybody.
It sounds like a challenging negotiation situation.
No, it's not. It's not really a negotiation. And he's sort of a liberal guy, I guess, from what I understand. But he likes Kennedy. This was before I found this out before Kennedy came in with us. He's going to be great. Bobby's going to be great. But
Of course,
I like that he likes Kennedy.
He's going to be great in
He's a
jail
different
with
kind
that
of a
federal
guy.
lawsuit.
But he's got some great things going. And I think he's going to be beyond politics. I think he could be quite influential in taking care of some situations that you probably would agree should be taken care of.
The Joe Rogan post is an
okay.
example.
I love
I'd
when
to hear
people
your
take care of
psychology,
situations.
about behind the tweets and the post on truth. Are you sometimes being intentionally provocative, or are you just speaking your mind?
Do you think he doesn't even remember why he brought RFK onto the platform? Like, anyways, the whole like make America healthy again. The Maha that they tried to push. You think he even forgot? Like, he might have actually forgotten, because he was like, "Oh, like we got Rogan, we got RFK on. He's gonna deal with like the health bullshit, whatever." He can't even say. He's like, "Yep, he's great, and he's gonna do things that are good. That he's gonna, fix things that you think should be fixed." Okay, wow, he actually forgot. That's crazy.
Some of the truths you've posted.
Yeah, I do. I mean, but not that often, honestly.
He does
I do
regret
a lot of reposting. The ones you get in trouble with are the reposts.
Trump can still feel shame.
Deep. They're into some group that you're not supposed to be reposting. You don't even know if those groups are good, bad, or indifferent. But the reposts,
just so you know, this same week, Donald Trump reposted a joke of Kamala Harris.
The reposts go very quickly.
Sucking dick
to check every single little
be in the position
symbol.
She's in right now.
And I don't know. It's worked out pretty well for me. I tell you, it's truth is very powerful. Truth. And it's my platform.
Truth.
And it's been very powerful.
I love
very
truth.
powerful. It goes everywhere.
Wow.
I call it my typewriter. That's actually my typewriter.
What are you doing usually when you're composing?
You mean the cartoon? No. Like a meme that a Trump supporter posted at him. Let me pull it up for you.
Yeah, baby.
Westside Tyler, thanks for the raid. Appreciate you. Hello, Raiders. Nice to have you. Nah, like right here. So this is from Truth. Donald J. Trump retruthed, and it's this from the Penguin. Beware of Penguin, and it's Kamala and Clinton, and somebody tweeted, "Funny how blowjobs impacted both their careers differently." Right? It is just, and John he read this, cackled, and then retruthed it. My bad, on his platform. Like, this is. He really got the whole club laughing. Indeed. Yeah. So, and then like his staffers like sprinted into Mar-a-Lago to beg. His phone was blowing up, begging him to delete. Please delete, Mr. President. Please delete. This is gonna be so bad. Please. And then he had to delete the retruth. But that was like the worst thing that he truthed within the last week, as far as I saw. Yeah, hey Raiders, nice to see you.
The truth. Like, are you chilling back on a couch?
Couches, beds.
Yeah.
A lot of different things. I mean,
like late.
He's really taking this
I'd like to
campaign
do
seriously,
something
huh?
like that. You know, I'm not a huge sleeper, but whenever I do them, you know, past like 3 o'clock, they
3 a.m.
criticize you the next day. Trump was up.
Maybe that's
truthing.
maybe that's what happened
Trump
with
was
his
truthing
mental
at 3 o'clock in the morning.
couches.
And there should
he
be
had
no
to give up
problem
the
with
couch
that. And
for
then when you
Vance.
think about time zones, how do they know that you're like, you know, in a time zone, like an Eastern zone?
What?
So, but every time I do it after like 2 or 3 o'clock, it's like, why is he doing that? But it's gotten, I mean, you know, the truth has become a very successful platform, and I like doing it. And it goes everywhere. As soon as I do it, it goes everywhere.
The country seems more divided than ever.
Yeah.
What can you do to help alleviate some of that division?
Well, you can get rid of these two people. They're terrible. They're terrible. You don't want to have them running this country. They're not equipped to run it. Joe is a disaster.
He can't stop talking about Joe Biden, man. He still thinks he's running against him.
I think she'll end up being worse than him. We'll see. I think a lot's now, you know, the convention's over with, and I see them in just about all the polls now. They have their little honeymoon period, as they call it.
The honeymoon is over.
We'll see how that all goes. Who knows? So.
From my personal opinion, I think you are at your best when you're talking about a positive vision of the future versus criticizing the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like 99% of the stuff that he does?
I think they're nasty. They came up with a story that I looked down and I called soldiers that died in World War I suckers and losers. Okay. Now, number one, who would say that? And number two, who would say it to military people? Nobody. It was a made-up story. It was just a made-up story.
The honeymoon is over.
And they like to repeat it over again. They know it was made up. I have 26 witnesses that nothing was said. They don't want to hear about that. Like she lied on McDonald's. She said that...
she lied on my homie McDonald's.
It's not a big lie, but it's a big lie. It's so, you know, I mean, they just went and they checked. And unless you can show something, they don't talk about, the presses are going to follow up with it, but I'll keep hammering it. But she never worked at McDonald's. It was just a
hammering
sort of
the
cool
McDonald's
thing to say.
line?
Hey, I worked at McDonald's.
That's all they got? They really got nothing.
But one of the worst was 2 days ago, I went to Arlington at the request of people that lost their children. There'll always be children to those people. You understand that. That's not politically incorrect thing to say. The mother comes up, I lost my child. But, you know, the child is a soldier. And lost the child because of Biden and because of Kamala. Just as
he said her name right.
Because it was so badly handled. It should have been done at Bagram, which is the big air base. It shouldn't have been done at a small little airport right in the middle of town where people stormed it. It was a true disaster. And they asked me if I'd come and celebrate with them 3 years. 3 years. They died 3 years ago.
Celebrate?
And I said,
celebrate what?
I got to know them because I brought them here, actually.
Wait, did he mean mourn? Bro said celebrate like it's an anniversary? Would you old pop streamer? What is he said? They wanted to come with me to celebrate. Celebrate? Man, his advisors really just told him that this could be a good money issue. As far as I've read on this issue, this is what happened. The family members of the soldiers who died in the Afghanistan pullout were massive Trump gaggers and glazers, and so they begged him to come. So the campaign reached out and they invited them to come out. But Trump was like, we could make this into a great idea. And so their plan was to try to pretend that it was an actual event instead of a private gathering of a couple of families, and turn it into like a campaign political event to be like, there was this event to celebrate the deaths of the soldiers who died in Afghanistan. But Harris and Biden didn't want to come because they hate our soldiers, and that's why they didn't go, even though nobody knew about it because it was literally a private event. And then when they went, and they were only supposed to take like certain pictures and also not make it a campaign event, Donald Trump decided to turn it into like a rally sort of event with the families and take pictures. Those in a special area of Arlington National Cemetery, which is called Section 60, where specifically certain types of war veterans are buried. And what happened is that you're not allowed. Federal law says you're not allowed to be in that area and use it for political events. Period. And you're also not allowed to take pictures of any of the gravestones without specific without specific either like without specific like documentary purposes or with specific privilege from the next of kin from those family members, and so he didn't do either, and a cemetery official tried to stop the campaign from trying to use it as a campaign event and take pictures of gravestones of soldiers who did not consent to have their, you know, like soldiers' families who did not consent to have their family members' gravestones used in that way. And they jumped him. Two of the members jumped the guy. They like pushed him out of the way and had like and they called him like a bunch of names and a bitch. And they pushed him out of the way to get him to stop from stopping them from using it as a campaign event. And they actually had to file a report because of it. And then the Trump campaign came out and lied and said that the cemetery official was a mentally deficient, insane person who was an operative of the who was like an agent of the Harris campaign to make the Trump campaign look bad, and said that they had video to prove that didn't happen. And then they didn't release any of the video because it doesn't support them, obviously. And then the literal Arlington Cemetery, like the official organization, the department actually had to come out and fact check the Trump campaign. And then the military itself had to level check on the campaign as well, had to come out publicly and say that Trump's campaign is lying. It was pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And now they're still trying to spin it as Biden and Harris don't care about our troops and it was only us. And now they're being so mean to us because we didn't do anything wrong at the cemetery. We had so much fun.
One night, they almost all came here. And they said, I wonder if Trump will actually come and see us. I heard they were here at Cape Set. So we stayed for like 4 hours listening to music up on a deck right upstairs. Beautiful. And they were great people. So they called me over the last couple of weeks and they said, we're going to have a reunion, our 3-year reunion. Would you be able to come? And it was very hard for me to do it logistically, but I said, I'll get it done. And I got there and we had a beautiful time. I didn't run away. I didn't just walk in, shake hands and walk out.
I didn't run away?
I wasn't looking at my watch like Joe Biden does. And it was amazing. So I did it for them. I didn't do it for me. I don't need the publicity. I mean, I get more publicity probably than anybody. You would know that better than me, but I think maybe more than anybody that's ever lived. I don't know, but I don't think anyone could have any more. Every time you turn on television, there's like 9 different stories, all on different topics, and they're all about Trump. As an example, you interview a lot of people, good people, successful people. Let's see how you do with this interview versus them, okay? I mean, I can tell you right now, you're going to get the highest numbers you've ever had by sometimes a factor of 10.
So true.
But when a Gold Star,
he is the most popular guy
asks
ever.
me to come in and spend time with them, and then they said, "Sir," we did a ceremony, and then we went down to the graves, which was quite a distance away. They said, "Sir, would you?"
He really said they made my ass walk.
When we were there, it's very sad actually, because these people shouldn't have died. They shouldn't have died. They died because of Biden. And
they came to me and they said,
Kamala.
Sir,
they died because it just like
please piss on my son's grave.
Okay. Now, I don't know if that's controversial to say, but I don't think it is. Afghanistan was the most incompetently run operation I think I've ever seen, military or otherwise. They're incompetent. But the families asked me if I'd go. I did go. Then the family said, could we have a picture at the tombstone of my son? And we did. Son or daughter. There was a daughter, too. And I took numerous pictures with the families. I don't know if anybody else was in the pictures, but they were mostly families, I guess. That was it. And then I left. I spent a lot of time.
There was not only families, there were also gravestones of other service members who died, who you're not supposed to take pictures of, who were visible in the shot as well, which is incredibly disrespectful.
Then I left. And I get home that night and I get a call.
I don't know these losers.
The Biden administration with Kamala is accusing me of using Arlington for publicity. I was in use just the opposite.
Yes, you were.
Opposite. And actually, did you see that just came out? The families actually put out a very strong statement defending me. They said, we asked him to be there.
Well, politicians and the media can play those games. And you're right. Your name gets a lot of views. You're probably legit the most famous person in the world. But on the previous thing, in the spirit of unity, you used to be a Democrat. Yeah. Setting the politicians aside, what do you respect most about people who lean left, who are Democrats themselves or of that persuasion, progressives, liberals, and so on?
Well, look, I respect the fact that everybody's in there. And, to a certain extent, life is.
What did he say? I respect that everyone's in there. What?
And, well, look, I respect the fact that everybody's in there.
The hell does that mean? What do you respect about the opposition? Well, they're there. I really respect that they do be there. They're in there.
To a certain
Come on in. Oh, boy, am I
what you
in.
do while you're waiting to die, so you might as well do a good job.
Fucking what?
Life is what you do while you're waiting to die, so you might as well do a good job. I think in terms
What?
of what's happening now, I think, we have a chance to save the country. This country's going down. And I called it.
What is he saying?
I called it with a lot of different countries. And this country is going down. If we don't win this election, the election coming up on November 5th is the most important election this country's ever had.
Bro's talking like a
If we don't
Redditor.
win it, I don't know that there'll be another election. And it's going to be a communist country or close.
And there's a lot of people.
Okay, so the
listening to
answer
this,
is
myself
nothing.
included, that doesn't think that Kamala is a communist.
Well, she's a Marxist.
Her father's a
What does that mean? You don't even know what that means. My bad. Like, he doesn't. Chump, please explain what the difference between Marxism and communism is. I'd love to know.
Marxist,
That's right.
and she's
It's a
advocating.
little unusual.
She's advocating for some policies that are towards the direction of democratic socialism, let's say. But there's a lot of people that kind of know the way government works, and they say, well, none of those policies are going to actually come to reality. It's just being used during the campaign to, groceries are too expensive. We need them cheaper. So let's talk about price controls, and that's never going to come to reality.
It could come to reality.
It is in reality in
It's
states.
been tried like 121
already.
different times at different places over the years. And
it's price gouging.
It leads to
bans.
communism. It leads to socialism. It leads to having.
Just so you know, if you guys don't remember, Donald Trump during the COVID pandemic actually supported price gouging bans because he was getting hit on how bad the economy was when he completely mismanaged COVID.
No food on the shelves.
And there are price
And it
gouging
leads
bans
to
in
tremendous
states.
inflation.
It's not a federal one.
It's just
It's a bad idea.
whenever we use terms like communism for her, and I don't know if you know this, but some people call you a fascist.
Yeah, they do. So I figure it's all right to call them a
fascist?
communist. Yeah, they call me a lot worse than I call them.
They do indeed. It's just sometimes
It's interesting, though. They'll call
Of
me something
course.
that's terrible, and then I'll hit them back. And they'll say, isn't it terrible what Trump said? I said, well, wait a minute. They just called me. So I believe you have to fight fire with fire. I believe they're very evil people. These are evil people.
Okay.
We have an enemy from the outside, and we have
We have the enemy
within.
from the inside.
And in my opinion,
from
the enemy
within.
from within are radical left lunatics.
Okay.
And I think you have to
So Kamala Harris is the enemy from within. The great uniter.
fight back.
whenever there's a lot of fighting.
Oh,
fire
the
with
great
fire,
deal maker and uniter.
It's too easy to forget that there's a middle of America that is that's moderate and kind of sees the good in both sides and just likes one side more than the other in terms of policies. Like I said, there's a lot of people that like your policies, that like your skill in being able to negotiate and end wars, and they don't see the impending destruction of America.
We had no wars when I was president. That's a big thing. Not since 78 years has that happened. But we had no wars when I was president. We defeated ISIS, but that was a war that was started that we weren't anywhere near defeating. But think of it, I had no wars. And Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary, said the world has to have Trump back because everybody was afraid of Trump.
That's not a
what he
good
said.
thing.
So I'm not using that term, but I think they respected
No
him. When he said
dictator said I should
China
be
was afraid,
elected.
Russia was afraid, everybody was afraid.
That's the number
And
good
I
reason
don't
not to
care
vote
what
for
word
you.
they use. Probably that's even a better word if you want to know the truth. But let's use the word respect. They had respect for me. They had respect for the country. I mean, I ended the
hungry.
Nord Stream 2 pipeline, the Russian pipeline. Nobody else could have done that. I ended it. It was done.
No one could have signed a
He gave
bill?
it, He approved it. So we're defending Germany and these other countries for peanuts compared to what it's worth. And they're paying the person we're defending them against billions and billions of dollars for energy. I said, how does that work? And we had it out with them, and it worked out good. And they paid hundreds of billions of dollars. Or you wouldn't even have a NATO right now. You wouldn't have NATO if it wasn't for me.
As the leader of the United States,
What
you were
is
the most
happening?
powerful man in the world. As
He
you
saved
mentioned, not
NATO.
only the most famous, but the most powerful.
Trump
And
is NATO.
If you become leader again, you will have unprecedented power. Just on your own personal psychology, what does that power do to you? Is there any threat of it corrupting how you see the world?
No, I don't think so. Look, I've been there for 4 years. I could have done a big number on Hillary Clinton. I thought it looked terrible to take the president's wife and put her in prison. She's so lucky. I didn't do anything. She's so lucky. Hillary is a lucky woman because I had a lot of people pushing me too. They wanted to.
He did try and put her in jail.
But I could have done something very bad. I thought it looked so bad. Think of it. You have the president of the United States, and you also had Secretary of State, right? She was. But you're going to put the president's wife in prison, and yet
she's a star.
They have all these hoaxes. They're all hoaxes, but they have all these dishonest hoaxes, just like they did in the past with Russia. That was a hoax. The 51 different, agencies or agents.
No quid pro quo. No quid pro quo.
The whole thing was a hoax. There was so many hoaxes.
Everybody who says something bad about me is hoaxing.
But I didn't want to put her in jail, and I didn't. And I explained it to people. They say lock her up. It doesn't. We won. I said we don't want to put her in jail. We want to bring the country together. I want to bring the country together. You don't bring the country together by putting her in jail. But then when I got out, they went to work on me. It's amazing. And they suffer from massive Trump derangement syndrome. TDS.
No.
And I don't know if it's curable from their standpoint.
A lot of
they hate me. They hate me so hard.
Footage of UFOs.
What did he say? I'm sorry, I'm skipping this shit. Let's go to Epstein.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his.
Who did he look over to? Did he look over to his campaign people, seeing if they just like signaled for him to walk off the set? You see that? See the way he looked over? He was like,
I don't think
Yo, do I get out of here? My lawyer? There's like a specific hand signal he throws out anytime it's time for him to get up when they mention Epstein.
I'm not involved. I never went to his island, fortunately.
Of course.
A lot of people did.
You were on this plane, though.
Smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close.
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island.
But not me.
Unfortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island is not
me.
Public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way.
Trump on the debate stage holding up a sign that reads, "I am not a pedophile."
Probably.
So if you were able to, you will be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy.
Take a look at it. I just think it's really curious how he was like, oh, why do you think so many rich and powerful people let Epstein get so close? When Trump literally called Epstein his best friend in the 90s. He didn't want to bring that. Hey, why did you let Epstein get so close?
So many years ago. They do that for danger too, because, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from.
Why do you live next door to him?
But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Sure, of course.
That's great to hear. What gives you strength when you're getting attacked? You don't want to attack people in the world.
I think you can't care that much. I know people that care so much about everything, like what people are saying. You can't care too much.
Wasn't it like a month ago he was complaining about how people were laughing at him?
It ends. How often do you think about your death? Are you afraid of it?
I have a friend who's very, very successful, and he's in his 80s, mid 80s, and he asked me the exact same question. I turned it around. I said, well, what about you? He said, I think about it every minute of every day. And then a week later, he called me to tell me something, and he starts off the conversation by going, tick tock, tick tock.
Yeah.
Now, this is a dark person, in a sense, but it is what it is. I mean, if you're religious, you have, I think, a better feeling toward it. You're supposed to go to heaven, ideally not hell, but you're supposed to go to heaven if you're good. I think our country's missing a lot of religion. I think it really was a much better place with religion. It was almost a guide, to a certain extent, it was a guide.
Not from bullshitting to get the religious vote back after he fumbled the abortion question.
Guardrails. I'd love to see us get back to religion, more religion in this country.
I think religion good, religion very good, more religion good.
Look, I love the country. I want to see the country be great, and we have a real chance of doing it, but it's our last chance, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this conversation with Donald Trump.
Yeah, that shit was ass. All right. Yeah, he really did not. You think they flagged him for that being the end after the whole Epstein thing? he was just like, okay, wait a second, maybe
more footage, which a lot of
okay, no. Nah. I thought about watching the Pentagon segment, but I was like, man, I kind of don't care. To be required for presidential candidates to do long form interviews. I'm not sure if presidential candidates should be, if like the criteria for being a presidential candidate is to do the things that you personally like watching on YouTube. Let's see Kamala sit for an hour unscripted with Lex now. Why? Listen, here's the thing, okay? Here's something that a lot of Trump supporters don't want to admit, which is only they really like watching this type of bullshit on YouTube, honestly. Right? What I mean by that is Donald Trump is going on these like internet TV shows specifically because, oh, sorry, Donald Trump is going on these internet shows and internet and like YouTube channels specifically because the only audience he's trying to reach out to be able to get out to vote is the either older divorced male vote or the younger will one day either or younger never will be married and or soon to be divorced vote. Right? Like those disaffected, angry, upset young men who watch Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan are like his voting demographic. And I mean, even the Trump supporters, even like his campaign has said that. I've been listening to a lot of Trump operatives, conservative operatives talk about the demographic that they're trying to go for to bring out for this election cycle, and you could just look at the polls to see who they're. You could look at the polls and you could see like who they're targeting for their ads, and it is either like young guys who haven't voted, young guys who are like 17 or something, and will be 18 by the time the election comes around, like younger guys. And like older guys who are either terminally online and or terminally divorced. And it's really just one of the two, because that's the only group, and specifically white as well, but like all men have all men as a group have a proclivity to leaning towards Donald Trump and leaning towards Republicans in general. But this has just been shown. And the campaign has said it very clearly, like Kamala has women and darkies, and we have white men, and so that's the war of the 2024 election cycle. Will Kamala Harris will Donald Trump be able to bring out enough angry white men to be able to vote, or will literally everybody else vote for Kamala Harris? And so it's just one of the two. Like what will happen, right? Can there be enough of literally everybody else in the country to come out and vote for Kamala Harris, or will there just be enough angry white men come out to vote for Donald Trump? And so that's what they're banking the whole election on. Not only that, they're banking the whole election on literally Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. The Trump's campaign is literally in a defensive crouch right now. In those three areas, because they realize that they can't win anywhere else, even though they try to lie and say that they are. They haven't gone anywhere else. They basically their fundraising has their campaign spending has fallen off a cliff like in almost every other state besides those three. That's where they're spending, I think, like 70% of their money, and everywhere else is just completely forgotten of. They've completely pulled out of Minnesota. They've pulled out of Virginia. There's reports that the campaign is thinking about pulling out of New Hampshire as well. And they're literally putting all of their eggs into Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina to win the election. And it's true that he only needs those three states to be able to win the election. The problem is if Kamala Harris gets literally any one of them, he loses. That's just simply how it is. Like if she nabs up one of them, he's donezo, kaput, as some people may say, finish, cooked. And so yeah, he's just in a defensive crouch, and he's just hoping to spend enough in those areas so that like he can sneak his way into victory, because it is the easiest path, but it is also one of the most dangerous paths as well, because if literally anything goes wrong, it's over. It's over. If anything goes wrong, it's over. I wish white women were actually good enough not to vote for Trump. I mean, he can't even say he's winning in all of the conservative, hacky, trashy polls. Because even to like yesterday, chat, did you see this? Rasmussen has fallen. Kamala Harris, for the first time since they really started polling, had taken a lead. Even in Rasmussen's polling, that a lot of conservatives tout as the gold star polling for some reason, because they're dumb as hell. Even these guys have shown Kamala Harris consistently gaining ground on Donald Trump. Even the trend line in Rasmussen is just shifted upwards for Donald Trump. But even this trend line clearly shows that Donald Trump is flatlining and Kamala Harris is rising. Maggots are falling, coconuts are rising, maggots are falling, coconuts are rising. And this is a trend that we see in basically every other polling any other polling firm out there at the moment, is that Trump is either staying flat or slightly dipping in his vote share, and Kamala Harris has been on a slow but consistent upwards trend. And they've been trying their hardest. They've been trying anything possible to be able to make it so that Kamala Harris doesn't actually win in these polls, but she snuck out a victory here with a 1 point. Not even Rasmussen could stop the Kamala momentum. Not even Rasmussen could hold back the Kamala momentum. It's getting bad out there. And to talk about the point that I brought up earlier, I wanted to take a look at this. This is Ad Impact. This is a nonprofit, nonpartisan ad spending watchdog group that likes to keep track of reservations and political campaign spending when it comes to advertisements from campaigns. And they showed something incredibly interesting. There is $1.9 billion set to go on the air in the 9 weeks between Labor Day and the election. 9 weeks left, chat. And in Democrats, Kamala Harris is spending $300 million, and Trump is spending $135 million. That's the difference at the moment. While Pennsylvania and Georgia are tied, Harris and her allies have a significant advantage in the 5 other battleground states and Nebraska. Nebraska's second district as well. So you can take a look at here. So to prove like the defensive crouch that I was talking about for Donald Trump. So look at his spending here, right? Basically even here in Pennsylvania, 70.8 million to 70.6. Basically even here in Georgia with 39 million to 38.7, but then it just completely falls off a cliff with Michigan getting $55 million from the Harris campaign and only $6 million from Trump and his allies. Arizona, 34.9 million from Harris, 9 million from Trump. Wisconsin, 33 million from Harris, 3 million from Trump. North Carolina, even 26 million, only 2.8 from Trump. And Nevada, 19.5 million and only 1.4 million from Trump. And even in Omaha, Nebraska, which is the Omaha market is the Nebraska second district market. That is $7 million for Harris, literally $0 from the Trump campaign reserved throughout the election season. Zero, not a singular dollar that they've reserved. They do not care about Nebraska's second district. They don't care about anything else besides those couple states. So let me pull this up for you to kind of show you why they're doing this. On 270 to win, because it just gets a little cute, right? So let me just take a look. Bing, bong, bang, bong, bing, bang, boom. We're not gonna look at New Hampshire because New Hampshire wasn't even on this list because the Trump campaign has, even though they're trying to get their people to not believe it, they've completely abandoned New Hampshire, the same way they abandoned Minnesota and Virginia. They've completely abandoned these places. So I just wanted to take a look at this really quick. We're talking about polling again? No, we're actually talking about ad spending again, which is slightly different. Very slightly different. So basically, let me just mark down what the Trump campaign's thinking. Okay, they're like, okay, we can lose Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Okay, and Nebraska's 2nd district. We can even lose the entirety of Maine, all of Maine. So, and this is their strategy, because as you can see, even if Kamala Harris sweeps all of these areas, she's still not at 270 electoral votes. That's because last year, California, Illinois, and New York all lost electoral votes, including Michigan as well, lost an electoral vote as well. And so because of that, if this was not the case in 2020, with the 2020 electoral votes, as you can see, she would have won. Actually, she didn't even need all of Maine. That can still go to Donald Trump, and she would have won with the 2020 election, with the 2020 electoral votes that was sitting around. But not anymore. Sorry, but not anymore. Now, this would only lead her to 268 or 269 if I was gonna give her Maine 2nd district. And I'm not gonna do it like here, just to for just to set an example. I'll do it for here. And so this is Trump's play. Okay, this is all he's working with is the 3 biggest swing states. He wants to carry Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. And it will get him to 269, and he would hope that the House would give him then it would go to the House, and he would hope that the House would then pick him as the president. If he were to carry Maine's 2nd district, which is very likely that he will, if I'm just going to be Maine's 2nd district, which is very likely that he will, that would put him at 270, and he would just win outright. So he doesn't need any other swing state at all, except for these 3, to be able to win the election, which are the most conservative and also the biggest. But there's one problem, is that these are not solidly in his column, like at all. And what's also the problem is that he's not spending it like that's what he wants to do either. Because look here, North Carolina only got $2 million from him when Kamala Harris is spending $26 million. And up here in Georgia as well, you can see that he's fighting really hard to keep Georgia. He's fighting super hard. So he's fighting really hard to take both Georgia and Pennsylvania. But he's not caring about North Carolina at all, or Omaha, Nebraska, which means that, yeah, this is the path that he's taking, but it's possible that he could lose North Carolina. Now, I personally don't think that North Carolina is going to go for Kamala Harris this year, as far as I know. As far as from the information that I've seen, this doesn't look like what's probably going to happen. But if she did, like I said, if she picks off anything here, he's done. If she carries the Rust Belt, which is very possible, he's done. If she takes Georgia, which is also possible, he's done. So anything here, which is where he's spending literally all of his money, if he does anything, basically these 2 states, right? He's betting. What he's doing is he's betting, like I personally believe, and a lot of people believe, that North Carolina won't flip. So that's good. So he's just focusing on 2 states basically, which is pray North Carolina doesn't flip. And it's just the demographics just haven't switched enough for that to happen. And then work your ass, and then like pay your ass off, pay through the nose on Pennsylvania and Georgia, and pray that enough angry white dudes in like both of these areas come out to vote for you. And that's his only plan. Trump has basically, this is the rest of the election season, okay? The entirety of the election season. The rest, this is all the money that they've set up at the moment. This is their game plan. Post Labor Day, 9 weeks, all their chips down. This is all of the money that they plan to spend from the Trump campaign. And he is really letting go of every single He has abandoned basically every single battleground state at this moment in time, except for Pennsylvania and Georgia. Those are the only states that he cares about. That's it. And like the spending proves it. Like, look, like it goes from 70 to 38 to what's the next highest? 9. 70, 38 million, 9 million. It drops off a cliff. He's really, this is his own, he thinks this, now a lot of people have been back and forth on what internal polling might say by either of the candidates, but this is kind of proving that Kamala Harris is running like she wants to win every swing state. Donald Trump is running like he's in a defensive crouch, like he wants 2 states and that's it. He's abandoned the entirety of the country besides Pennsylvania and Georgia. And the thing is, he's behind in organizing in both of these states, and he's also behind in spending slightly, but he is also behind in spending as well, technically. When it comes to ad spending specifically, when it comes to organization spending, it's not even close to being tied. He gets obliterated. In both of these states, I think right now, let's pick up RCP because it's the most conservative. It's the most conservative polling aggregate that I know of at the moment. Let's go with like the no toss-up map. Yeah, he's cooked. Even right now, if you look at the polling, even if you look at the most conservative mainstream polling firm right now, he's cooked. He loses.